Okay, for my final exam case study analysis, I chose a social media case by Yin Ying Wang. The reason I chose this case is because social media is just um, taking over practically everything. It's transforming the way that our communities communicate with each other. It's transforming the way our businesses market. In a recent study in North Carolina, it showed that in 2016, 78% of Americans reported having a social media profile. On average, smartphone users check their Facebook accounts 14 times per day, and 86% of businesses are using Facebook to market their company. So that's insanely huge. So why not bring it to school systems as well? That's the thing with this case. So for the facts about this case is it involves two administrators who are collaborating with each other about the school's use of social media. The principal is having reservations about it. The assistant principal is totally on board and it's her idea, and she has visions to make it happen and wants to make the high school a Facebook page. Precautions and legal issues are communicated by the principal, and that's his worry about, how we handle these things, and there's no board policy for it. Although it's been mentioned that they would like to go in that direction. So he's just wondering how to make a plan to avoid those issues. And so in their collaboration, that's what they discuss is to form a task force of all stakeholders to figure out policies for the social media for that high school. So the legal issues, of course, that you encounter with social media, the big one is freedom of speech. How do you handle if a parent expresses their views on your Facebook page and maybe they're not what you want on your Facebook page, on your public Facebook page? Also, how are teachers and faculty protected? And as far as it being a Facebook, and that's a good question as well. So in our textbook about Principal's Guide to School Law, internet safety, especially with social media, has become huge, like a really big challenge for administrators. We've seen it across our county and in my school as well, especially with most schools getting one-to-one devices. I know throughout Buncombe County, all 4th, 5th, and 6th graders have a one-to-one device that they use daily. And so in the Principal's Guide to School Law, it says that there's lots of questions on how to handle social media issues, and that it's really important to keep in mind that many of the problems that occur fall under what principals already know about student speech rights, student search guidelines, and how they respond to disruptions at school. So even if the threat is being communicated through social media, I think you would handle it the same way another threat would be. Or if it's a sexual issue, I think they handle it the same way. The additional information that I wanted to know is, does the district have a plan to implement a board policy for all schools in the district? I know it had talked about that's the route they were wanting to take, but they had some setbacks with that. And so I'm wondering, did they have an original plan that they just haven't enforced yet? And I think that's an important person to have on your task stream, is maybe who was like heading that up for the county, because it's important to get that opinion of them. So looking up, I also wondered who will be enforcing the policy that the task force is creating. Will it be somebody at the school? Will it be somebody at the district? So this got me looking up some information about policies in my district and in North Carolina. So I found there was a study done in 2016 by ncpublicschools.org on all the different schools in North Carolina and their social media use. So I'm going to share some statistics of that with you. Let's see. So the first one was current social media engagement, and this was all of the schools in North Carolina, charter schools, public schools, everything. So as you can see by the statistics for Facebook, at least, traditional public schools were not as active in Facebook as charter schools were. Twitter is not too far off from each. And then LEAs, or school districts, 86% of school districts in North Carolina have an official Facebook page, and 79% have a social media or a Twitter page. My district has both, and they have an Instagram as well. So I think it was interesting to see that schools individually don't necessarily have as many Facebook pages as charter schools, I guess because the marketing is probably different. So that's just something interesting I found. And then on down, it talks about what principals believe the most pertinent posts to share via social media. At my school, we have two Facebook pages actually, and I spoke to an expert source who is my school technology coordinator, and she was talking about that we have two different ones. We have one that's our school Black Mountain Elementary Facebook page, and then we have an additional one that is Black Mountain Elementary PTO Facebook page. So our technology facilitator explained to me that she is the primary one to monitor the school Facebook page. She has access and the principal have access, but no one else does. And we follow along with the Buncombe County Schools policy for social media use for how it's run. So the only things that are being posted on there are, beneficial stuff. For mainly the stuff is like events that are coming up, like math night and STEM night and so on. Also, they put accomplishments for students and employees on there. And then she posts things like field trip information and even fundraiser information. And then additionally, our PTO has a Facebook page that is solely run by a member of the PTO. No staff member has access to this Facebook page. And they talk about different things that they send out in their newsletter monthly, such as different fundraisers that are going on and different things that are happening throughout the school, events and things that you may need volunteers for, etc. So for North Carolina as a whole, the North Carolina schools.org showed that 59% of principals said that they think school events is the main thing to be sharing on your social media accounts. Schedule changes is something else. I can tell you that schedule changes are shown quite frequently on our county Facebook page, Twitter account. For example, if there's a snow day, they post it on there, as well as, the media outlets for the news, and on the Facebook on the Buncombe County Schools homepage, they post it there as well. So that's just giving additional ways to get it out to the public. Student work is also shown on our school Facebook page, as well as our county Facebook page and other social media sites. Sometimes the county, if you have something going on at your specific school, you can call them and say, hey, we have something awesome going on. And they'll send somebody out to take pictures and get a write-up, speak to students. Last year, for example, our school wrote thank you letters to the firemen who were battling the Lake Lure fire. And they also took up a bunch of donations to benefit the firefighters. And somebody came out and did an interview with a couple of students about what they had been doing and why they were taking it up, and let them read their thank you letters. And then they posted that for, people to see, which was great. It's great to give recognition when necessary. And then the last statistic was the positive correlations between having an official Facebook page and engagement. So the statement was that the school maintains a two-way communication with the community. 99% of people felt that they were really confident in this and that was what was taking place. The second one was the school does a good job of encouraging parental involvement. 99% were confident in this as well. I can say that's something that our school does really well. They constantly are, if they need volunteers for field day or something going on, they can post it on there to get a greater audience. And then the parents know what is going on in the school, and 99% felt confidence in this. I have parents who they'll post on our Facebook account before the flyers even go home, and parents will ask me for additional information about that. They'll be like, oh, we saw on Facebook that STEM night is in 2 weeks. Do you have additional information? So I think it is really beneficial, and I think a lot of things come communicated through that. So that's what's important about that. So another expert source that I use is Nicole Roberts, who's my principal at Black Mountain Elementary. I spoke with her about the case and just gave her some specifics on the case. And she felt like this task force is a really smart idea, especially if there is no district policy to follow, because that's the important thing. At our school, we follow the district social media policy, but it doesn't seem like in this specific case that this has been something that's been taking place for a while. It doesn't seem like the district has a Facebook page, or even other schools in the district. I mean, that's another question I would have. Is there any other place in the district who's already implemented a social media site? She just felt like a task force is a good way to come up with a policy, because multiple stakeholders will be involved. That can include people from central office, as far as your communications director, or your superintendent even. And then it can include parents as well to get their feelings on it. And then teachers, and then administrators, of course. And it's good to get insight from everybody, because everybody has different views on it, and everybody has different benefits of the social media. I mean, as a parent, I think it would be great to be able to just get on my phone and see that something's going on. I mean, if I'm on Facebook, yeah, I mean, that's something that's pretty common these days. The other expert source I spoke to was the Bungalow County Schools technology facilitator, who is over like the Bungalow County Schools social media pages and stuff. And they are who monitors the BCS social media pages as far as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. They have the other person that has access is the communications director, who can post stuff on there as well, as far as just scheduling changes and stuff. And Bowman County Schools, they are really good about their social media use. I just saw today on Facebook where they were at Mission Hospital, and they were thanking them for their school supply drive. They had had a drive for school supplies such as backpacks and pencils and paper and everything. And they had came up with like 300 backpacks for students who were about to start school, and they were thanking them and just giving them recognition for all they had done to help out Buncombe County school students to help their year start out the right way. So I thought that's great because it shows that there's a community relationship and a lot of community involvement. It helps in that aspect. Also, they're really good about doing accomplishments for students and employees. Like I talked about, them honoring students at Black Mountain Elementary last year for doing the drive to take up items for the firefighters for the Lake Lure fire. And it's also good to do the weather closings on there. I mean, sometimes those can be done quickly, and you may not know that. And so the technology facilitator said that that's one of their main things. They have a lot of people who watch Facebook pages more so than like news. I mean, and some people don't even have cable, they just have internet. And so they have benefited from that really well. I think the main things that I have just really learned from looking at this case study, I guess I didn't realize that there were so many schools who didn't have a social media account yet, because it seems so common in my district that the majority of the schools have Facebook and Twitter and Instagram accounts already. And there are so many issues that could go wrong with them as far as freedom of speech. So that has to be something that you're really up to date on as a principal. If I'm ever a future principal, I would hope that that's something that I would know lots about is student and parent speech rights. I think that all of the cases that have been taken to court in the past are the issues that have been had. I think those are really important to consider and to look into as far as how things were done. Ultimately, for this case, I think it's really important that these two principals look into what other people have done. Is there people in your district who have already implemented this? If not, are there people in districts close to you that you can get advice from on how to write a policy that's going to protect your staff members and your school in order to get a social media account, which is ultimately going to benefit you in the long run? Because many, many studies have stated how beneficial it is to have a social media site. I actually didn't know this, but on ncpublicschools.org it says that even though if you choose to not have a Facebook page, Facebook will still make you one if you're an organization. So, for example, Black Mountain Elementary, if they didn't have a Facebook page, Facebook would make one for them. Since it's like a place, and bad things could be posted on there without any monitoring or any realization that that's happening. And so they're suggesting that it's better to go ahead and make that page so you can go ahead and deal with those issues that arise, rather than them just being on there for people to access and people to see without your knowledge or without you being able to do anything about it. And that's something I didn't realize that Facebook was able to go ahead and do, is just make a page for you without you actually having access to it. So I think this has brought to light a lot of different things that I hope benefit me in the future and help me out with my career as an administrator. I've really enjoyed this class. Thank you so much, and I look forward to working with you in the future.